Stages in a typical prose lesson. A prose lesson in a reader contains a brief sketch of the biography of the writer, a few activities, text to be read, and exercises. The text to be read may have to be taken up for detailed discussions in 4 to 6 periods, depending on the time available for transaction. In this section, we'll discuss what happens in a typical lesson meant for one period of about 40 minutes duration. Let's again remind ourselves that our aim is to help children construct the knowledge of language use on their own. So we need to have strategies to motivate them, initiate them into the learning process, allow them time to explore the given text, discuss whatever they explore, and put to practice whatever skills they practice by reading some other text on their own. As such practices accumulate, the students begin to master the skills of comprehending the text. Let me repeat again. Our approach is constructivist in nature, involves learners in the learning process, and the teacher remains a facilitator. The following stages are suggested for a typical prose lesson. Number 1. Engage. It's important to get students to concentrate on classroom transactions. They might be distracted for various reasons. Children being what they are, you are likely to find them restless. They are restless because they are full of energy and there is nothing to engage them meaningfully. They need to relate to the text they are going to read and other activities you might conduct. We need to mentally prepare them to take on the tasks you organize in the class. How can we engage them right before starting the class? Start with a casual talk about day-to-day happenings. Narrate a story related to the theme of the lesson. Sing a song related to the lesson. Conduct an activity that can make them think on the lines of the text to be studied. Ask recapitulation questions if your lesson is a continuation of the previous lesson. Raise a few questions on the theme of the lesson to be read and leave them unanswered. Take them up for discussions after completing the lesson. You are free to do any activity. By the end of the activity, they must get ready to take on further learning activities in your subject. It's wrong to assume that if you start the lesson straight, they automatically get involved. It's necessary to create structures to relate what is going to be learned to what is already known and reflect. If you are able to engage students well, half the battle is won. At this stage, introduce the new words. We have a separate section on various techniques of introducing new words. It's desirable that they know the meanings of the new words before they begin reading, so that when they come across the new words, they are not puzzled. They might identify other words as new while they read. Help them out with those words when they ask, but don't make that your main strategy. You'll not have enough time to introduce words elaborately when the actual lesson is being explored. If you do vocabulary work while they are supposed to read on their own, the focus on comprehending the text will be lost. Lastly, you can introduce the writer before moving on to the next stage in the engage stage. Next stage, explore. Now the real learning activity begins. Here, students are expected to read the text on their own and try to comprehend the text. They explore the contents of the text on their own. The teacher now helps them explore the text in a systematic manner. We start with a few simple questions. These questions could be called pre-reading questions, that is PRQs for simple. These questions deal with factual details given in the text. They must be able to locate the answers as they read the text. Pre-reading questions help learners focus on the text. The questions are asked in English and students are familiarized with the pre-reading questions and their expectations. These questions can be orally presented or presented on a chart prepared earlier. If you can write quickly on the blackboard, you can even list the main expectations on the board. Now read the portions of the text meant for the day aloud with proper pronunciation and intonation. You need to practice reading aloud beforehand. Reading aloud is discussed separately in this unit. Please read it for more information. Ask students to follow the text as you read. The moment you finish reading, ask them to answer the pre-reading questions. Accept even one-word answers. They must have the pleasure of answering questions asked in English. This can build a lot of confidence in them that even they can follow English easily. Appreciate their answers and move to the next level. You need not discuss the lesson now. Now it's time for the students to explore the text on their own. You can give them the following instructions. Dear children, now it's time for you to read these paragraphs on your own and try to understand them. I'll display a few questions for you. You must read the text and try to find answers to those questions. If you find new words, please refer to the glossary or your personal dictionaries. We have discussed a few new words right in the beginning, so check their meanings from your notes. You can write answers in your notebook or mark them on the text using a pencil. Read silently. I don't want to hear any sound. I don't want to see lip movements either. Now start. Allow them 5 to 8 minutes for reading. Go around the class and ensure that all of them are engaged in reading. They might need some help. Do help them. Once the reading is over, they are ready for a discussion. You see here what has happened. First teacher read loudly and students followed, and next teacher has given students to read silently in the next after teachers reading. This is all is happening in the explore stage. Let's think about that. We have to think. So teacher has read loudly and students had followed, and now teacher has given the students to read silently. It's all thing happening in the explore stage. In explain, that is remaining part will covered by the teacher. Now pick up a discussion. So in the explain, we have to discuss about the content, and if students fail to say something important, that have to be covered by the teacher as a facilitator. Now pick up a discussion of the text. Read using the key questions. That is, questions are we have to read full answer of those questions. Here we have to discuss about the questions you have presented. You may have to generate many such questions in order to arrive at the answer to the key questions. Do have as many such questions as possible. Avoid your explanation as far as possible. Allow them to tell whatever they have understood first. Ask questions and get them to think systematically. Involve as many students as possible in the discussion. You'll find a few problems in their expressions or in their comprehension. After they exhaust their ideas, you can quickly explain issues that remain unexplained. So at this stage, first students explain and discuss, then the teacher supplements their explanation wherever necessary. Once the answers to the key questions are discussed, you could write them on the blackboard and ask them to copy the answers. This may not be necessary in a bright class, But you might find this step useful in classes where students are yet to master independent writing. However, remember not to make your class just a session of questions and answers. All questions and answers should lead to some kind of discussion that lead to a coherent understanding of the text. You can draw the attention to specific points, usages, and sentence patterns so that they are able to appreciate different features of the text. So, what we have seen here in explanation, there is a discussion going on between students and teacher about the topic, and students are trying to answer these questions based on their level. They are trying their level best, and what they miss, if anything missing, teacher is facilitating, that is supplementing the remaining part with the points which are uncovered. So it's going on in the explanation. And in expand, that is what will happen. Let's see now. This is a stage where learners extend horizons of whatever they have learned. They do so by either practicing the skills learned or by undertaking a new similar assignment, which also provides extended practice. You can provide them with a parallel text to read. You can ask them to engage in some oral presentation on the text discussed. They can also present their experiences on similar lines. You could also ask them to do some reference work to find out usages of certain words to develop dictionary reference skills. If you want your students to practice reading aloud, you could even spend a while asking your students to read the text aloud. Limit reading exercise only to the cover paragraphs. Ask different students to read in each subsequent period so that you cover maximum number of students before the lesson ends. So in expand, we have to expand our reading. We can read other text, or children can read by their own choice text, and here children can say their feelings, experiences about what they had understand after reading the particular text. They can share with others voluntarily, that is oral, they can express, and so they can present, they can discuss about the topic. Or we may say teacher can give once again loud reading one by one, calling one by one students, so voluntarily, not voluntarily, one by one, step by step, so that few students in one period and next few students in remaining period, so that we can give chance to everyone. So in expand, we extend our reading horizon. In evaluation, in still is there, expand activities might continue even outside the classroom. So we can conduct this activity in one outside the classroom. There could be some sort of ಸರ್ ಹಾ ಹಾ ಆಯ್ತು ಬಿಡ್ಸರಿ ಸರ್ ಹಾ ನಾಳೆ ತಗೋ ಬಿಡ್ಸರ್ ತಗೋರಿ ಸರ್. ಅದು ನೀವು ಅದು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಡ್ರಿ, ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ ರೀಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕದ ಸರ್, ಮತ್ತೆ ನೀವು ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡ್ರಿ. ಆ ರೀಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಇದು ಪೂರ ಇದು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡ್ರಿ, ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡ್ರಿ. ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡ್ರಿ ಸರ್, ಅದು ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಇದಾಗ್ತದ. ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು. So, expand activities might continue even outside the classroom. There could be some sort of home assignments too. At this stage, we need to trigger of a spirit of independent exploration. Let them engage in related activities so that their language skills get strengthened. So, whether you conduct an expand activity yourself is secondary. What is important is you suggest activities. If time permits, we can monitor them, or you can ask them to do the activities on their own. In the beginning, they may not do the activities, so you may have to monitor them till it becomes a habit. We have to talk to them about the need to do the activities that we suggest. In evaluate, we need to know how effective our strategies were. We also need to know to what extent learners have been able to develop comprehension. The gray areas, we have to find out. The gray areas means weaker areas we have to find. For this, we evaluate. Evaluation at this stage is not really for pronouncing judgments. We are not judging anything here. It's to understand the learning process and get feedback on what needs to be changed in our strategies in the next lesson. You can evaluate students learning through a traditional question and or an answer method. You could also conduct some activity and observe their participation. Provide worksheets for them to work on and assist their learning. After the evaluation, it would be good to reflect on their performance in whatever little way you can. Evaluation without reflection may not be of much use. We can ask even students to reflect. In the beginning, we can just tell them to think over the class and see in what way they were benefited. Again, this has to become a natural habit. Evaluation is for enhancing learning and not for passing judgment. So in evaluation, we should understand whether my strategies are giving fruits to our students or not, whether students have understand or not, whether they are have get some information after reading again and again. So we have to ask questions to our students and get information, and we can check out by asking students whether they are reading correctly or not, whether they are able to comprehend the text or not. In this way, we can check out. So this is not for meant for judgments. Also, after evaluation of the students, that is, we can think in a moment that whether my studies are fruitful or shall I change my strategies in the next lesson teaching. So we have to think, get the information from the evaluation. So after that evaluation, we can give assignments to our students. Usually these are called homework in local language. The expression homework has acquired a negative connotation nowadays because they were made very mechanical. Asking children to answer certain textual questions, copy certain portions, or common homework nowadays we say, but they don't make a good home assignment. The class time is meant for engaging in textual learning. At home, the possibilities are different. They can engage in language practice in a natural environment, listening to news bulletins. So in this way, we have to give listening to news bulletins, making some reference work, browsing the net for certain information, talking to an adult about a topic, writing a summary of a movie watched, translating an interesting paragraph, and the like would be creative and engage students in expanding their learning.